Everything's got to be.
The Topeka City Council meeting will come to order. If you would please rise as you are able and give your attention to Councilwoman Ortiz for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a blessing to introduce to you Apostle Samuel D. Abbott. He's a pastor and the founder of, and he's going to introduce his church. Pastor Abbott, if you'll come to the podium. I am very grateful for him. He's not new to District 3, but he did move from one street to another. And he moved from a corner to a whole street. And when I say a street, his church is now in a whole street. And you know, that's a blessing, so we don't have an empty building. So we're glad that he's here. I'll let him introduce himself and talk to you about his church and give the invocation.
All right. I'm Samuel Abbott. I am the founder and pastor of Kingdom Life Church, formerly known as Shekinah Glory. We're at 621 Southeast Swaggart. We purchased the old Community Action Building in July of last year. I want to thank you, council members, for the opportunity, and I also want to thank you for your leadership and your service to this city. Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this council, these members that you have given to the city of Topeka. We thank you for them taking out of their own busy schedules to help lead this city and to help serve this city. We pray that you would continue to lead and guide them, give them the wisdom to make the best decisions for everybody that is in the city of Topeka. We thank you for all the citizens of Topeka and how they follow the leadership of this council. And we pray for even more funding for other projects and things that the city council would need. We pray for wisdom on how to shuffle some things so that they can get accomplished on all sides, east, north, and south, and west, and the city of Topeka. We give you glory, we give you honor, and we give you praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First proclamation tonight has to do with Autism Awareness Month. And with me tonight in this honor is Matt Flowers, Jenda Delson, and Josephus Ben Aria. We'll have a proclamation. Whereas autism is a result of a neurological disorder that affects the normal functioning of the human brain and can affect anyone, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, or socioeconomic background. And whereas symptoms and characteristics of autism may present themselves in a variety of combinations and can result in significant lifelong impairment of an individual's ability to learn, develop healthy, interactive behavior, and understand verbal as well as nonverbal communication. And whereas autism, the fastest growing developmental disability in the United States, with more than 251 students being served in our public schools here, Shawnee Heights, Seaman, and Topeka Public Schools, and 105 on the autism spectrum are being served at Easter Seals Capper Foundation. And whereas the Topeka Area Autism Network, Family Service and Guidance Center, TARC, the public schools, Easter Seals Capper Foundation, Families Together, Vallejo, and others play a vital role in the lives of these children. And whereas the City of Topeka is honored to take part in the annual observance of Autism Awareness Month in the hope that it will lead to a better understanding of the disorder. Now therefore, I, Larry Walgass, Mayor of the City of Topeka, do hereby proclaim April 2016 as Autism Awareness Month. And I know that there have been recognition throughout the city in the last week. The color blue is the color, and I know in the last few days, and actually last Friday, on First Friday, downtown in different areas, had signs in their windows about Autism Awareness Week. And I know the Bartlett and West building had blue in the colors focused on the building. So we appreciate the opportunity to be a part. And we recognize all that you are doing. And I know you have some people with you. If you would stand, those from the autism awareness area, stand up and be recognized. Thank you very much. The second proclamation is National Service Recognition. Folks, please. This is another national event that's going on this week and actually this day all across the country. And with me here is Carolyn Campbell, who is a State Board of Education representing this area of the state, but more importantly tonight, she's on the Kansas Volunteer Commission. Cherie Riffey is an AmeriCorps Program Director with the Kansas State Wildlife and Parks. Brittany Crabtree, Executive Director, Kansas Volunteer Commission, and then Joss Lyman, who is the Corporation for National and Community Service representing the Kansas and Missouri states, correct? All right, and we have a proclamation that will provide some background on this. Whereas AmeriCorps and Senior Corps participants serve in more than 50,000 locations across the country, including 44 in Topeka, bolstering the civic, neighborhood, and faith-based organizations so vital to our city. And whereas more than 321 National Service participants of all ages and backgrounds serve in Topeka. Whereas National Service represents a unique public-private partnership that with interest in community solutions and leverages non-federal resources to strengthen community impact and increase the return on taxpayer dollars, including more than $677,000 in Topeka. Whereas the Kansas Volunteer Commission and the Corporation for National and Community Service share a priority with mayors to engage citizens, improve lives, and strengthen communities, and is joining with mayors across the country this week to recognize the impact of service on the Mayor's Day of Recognition for National Service on April 5, 2016. Now, therefore, I, Larry Wolgass, Mayor, do hereby proclaim April 5, 2016 as National Service Recognition Day. Congratulations for all that you do. Okay, we have one more, very important one. This is on Child Abuse Prevention Month. You would come forward. I have here Gail Cozard, the Kansas Children's Service League, who certainly works in this area, and with her is Josephine Jackson and Sophia Jackson. Proclamation. Whereas children are key to the state's future success, prosperity, and quality of life, and while children are our most valuable resource, they are also our most vulnerable. And whereas children have a right to be safe and to be provided an opportunity to thrive, learn, and grow, and whereas child abuse and neglect can be prevented by supporting and strengthening Kansas families, thus preventing the far-reaching effects of maltreatment, providing the opportunity for children to develop healthy, trusting family bonds, and consequently building the foundations of communities, and whereas we must come together as partners so that the voices of our children are heard by all, and we are, as a community, extending a helping hand to children and families in need. And whereas by providing safe, stable, and nurturing relationships for our children, free of violence, abuse, and neglect, we can ensure that Kansas children will grow to their full potential as the next generation of leaders, helping to secure the future of the state and nation. Now, therefore, I, Larry Wolgass, Mayor of the city, do hereby proclaim April 2016 as Child Abuse Prevention Month. And you want to...
As a survivor of child abuse, I want to thank you guys for taking the awareness and actions to stop this from happening, because I know the problems and things that can occur from it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming in. There are no presentations this evening, so we will proceed with the roll call.
Mayor Wolgast.
Here.
Council members Hiller.
Here.
Clear. Here. Ortiz. Here. Shum.
Here.
De La Isla. Here. Jensen.
Present.
Schwartz. Here. Cohen.
Here.
And Harmon.
There are some changes to the originally printed agenda. City Manager, if you would describe those, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are two items that were pulled from today's agenda. The first is the Harley-Davidson TGT project. They're actually having a board meeting on their the first board meeting of their newly formed nonprofit, so they were unable to make it this evening, so they will not. They weren't able to be in attendance, so we pulled that item. Secondly, we pulled the discussion pertaining to the CIP. There have been some questions, and we just want to make sure that we address those to everybody and give an opportunity for people to ask questions. And and we also have a fairly long meeting tonight, so we wanted to make sure that we were able to focus on the business at hand.
Okay, very good. Thank you. There are no other additions or deletions to the agenda, and council members, there will be two executive sessions this evening. They will then proceed with the consent agenda, if the clerk would read.
A is a resolution introduced by Councilmember Sandra Clear granting Brass Rail Tavern an exception to the provisions of City of Topeka Code Section 945-150 at SEEK concerning noise prohibitions. B are minutes of the regular meeting of March 15, 2016. C are applications. There's a list of open after midnight renewal applications, and staff is requesting approval.
That is the consent agenda. At your pleasure, Councilman De La Isla.
Motion to approve.
It's been moved to approve. Councilman Jensen seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no. I vote yes.
We have 10 yes.
Having voted yes, the consent agenda is approved. We proceed to the action items. The first is an election. If the clerk would read.
A is election of a deputy mayor.
Council is aware of this. It is a right that we do at the beginning of the April, as those years where we don't have an election for city council. The election for deputy mayor and other positions take place the first council meeting in April. Councilmember Shum.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to nominate Michelle De La Isla for deputy mayor.
Michelle De La Isla has been nominated, and we do not make seconds. They are not necessary in this election. Councilwoman Schwartz.
Thank you, Your Honor. I first have a question about, this is a 9-month term, not a full year term.
Yes, that is correct, because of the change we made with the election cycle. Next year, we go back to fulfilling the demands of the state legislature, governor change. So next year's, this position will serve through 2016. And then in 17, we go to have a January. And it will be from that time forward unless another change is made.
Okay. Well, with that in mind, I would like to nominate our deputy mayor currently, Karen Hiller. I think she's done an excellent job with the role that she's had, and especially with running our budget meetings that we have coming up. So my nomination is for Karen.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Hiller has been nominated for re-election. Are there other nominations? Councilwoman Ortiz.
I don't have a nomination, I just have a comment.
Okay. Councilwoman Ortiz. Where I think if we can have other nominations or comments. Go ahead.
Thank you. Elaine, I appreciate your nomination, and I think Karen has done a great job. But I think it's real important that it doesn't, I can't get caught up in how many months or whatever, and I think Michelle or yourself is in line. So you don't want it? Okay, then Michelle's in line. And I like to be fair, I tell you. And I think even, you know, when I got nominated, I think Karen voiced that it was important to be fair. And I think everybody should have a turn so everybody can see what the deputy mayor goes through, and just to be fair. Not to take anything away from what Karen's done. I think she's done a terrific job, probably over and above, but we all have our own styles, and I will be supporting Michelle unless she says she doesn't want that nominee. So, like I said, I just wanted to state that it has nothing to do with that. And I thought we voted in 2017, so I'm not quite sure where the 9 months is coming. I think you're incorrect on the 9 months, but I don't care if it's 9 months or 14 months or whatever. I just want to be fair and stay consistent, and I know for a long time that didn't happen, and I got passed over forever and ever and ever, and I tell you, I think everybody should have that opportunity unless they turn it down, so I will be supporting those, Michelle, for those reasons and those reasons only. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, and actually, the term has changed in that were approved recently the changes that our elections will follow the law passed by the state, and so that next year the elections for deputy mayor will occur, I believe, the first or second Tuesday in January. So this position, this term will fall the remainder, which are the 9 months remaining, April through December of this year. So that's where we get the 9 months.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah. Councilwoman Claire.
Is this a written protocol that, or is it just in your?
No.
It's just something you.
Yeah.
So what is the tradition?
Everybody might have their own interpretation of what the tradition is. I think what she's referring to is generally there has been the feeling that the position is passed around. Is that the way, Councilwoman Ortiz?
If I may. If I may.
Sure, yes.
There hasn't really been a tradition, but you know, like if everybody likes this person, we go along with that person, and if everybody, and that's not fair to me. You know, I think it should be the next person that's coming up in line, you know, unless they can say that they can deny it. And I don't think that's really fair. That doesn't mean that person's not going to do a good job. But, you know, that's kind of how and I'm not saying we're like the commissioners at no means, but, you know, it's always been like that in the past that, you know, well, we'll just pick this one or we like this one better. And I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So I want to be fair and try to be consistent. And I think we've done that for a few years, and I'd like to see us continue that.
Okay, yes. Councilwoman Claire.
However, this person then would do the 9 months, and it's like starting over. I mean, this is just kind of ending out a term. I mean, you can look at it, ending out a term, and the beginning of the next term will be January. Mm-hmm. Right, okay, thanks.
Okay.
Mayor.
Councilman Harmon.
Thank you, Your Honor. I too want to echo the sentiments expressed eloquently by Councilwoman Ortiz. I strongly feel this is a position that should be passed around. It's no reflection on the current office holder. I've always taken the position that it should go to somebody who has not had that opportunity to serve. And I'd rather have somebody serve for 9 months rather than not have the opportunity at all. I've been on this council for 11 years, and never once have we had a deputy mayor from District 5. And I think it's way overdue. So I'll be supporting Councilwoman De La Isa.
I was from District 5. Present company accepted. Is that what you meant?
You know, I might, you know.
Make sure we've been on here too long. I don't remember you.
I make more mistakes when it comes to the deputy mayor election than any other issue. So, Mayor, please forgive me for that.
No problem.
Yes, you were deputy mayor, and you did a great job, so forgive me for my theorizing mental lapse.
Councilman Shum.
Thank you. I really appreciate the job that Karen's done. She's really risen to the occasion. But I do want to echo my fellow council members' comments that I think each council member deserves that opportunity to rise to the occasion of deputy mayor and understand the council business just a little bit better. I would rather have 8 council members that have served as deputy mayor and are ready to step in for the mayor than stick with one year after year. Again, since I nominated her, obviously I'm still supporting Michelle. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions? Other comments? Other discussion? Going? All right, we declare the discussion, nominations over. If you would please, I'm sorry. Thank you for pointing that out. We have persons signed to speak on the issue. So before you vote, we have 2 people. Joseph Ledbetter. Thank you. I know.
Governing body, thank you. My comments are directed at this position only from the fact that it is a voting position on JADO, and I just want to remind people of that responsibility. I wish everybody up here had a vote on JADO, and I still believe that's the proper way to do things. I don't know of too many elected bodies where you show up to a meeting and you don't get to vote even though you're a member. Except at JADO, we exclude 6 council members out of the 9. So this position will have a vote on JADO, and I just want to remind you, we still have a Gardner report that needs to be fully implemented, at least discussed. It shouldn't be put on a shelf. It should actually be looked at, and there were people that were voting members last year that strongly encouraged that. And because they did, I think that we need people with that same resolve to make sure that they are at those JADO meetings and making sure that the will of the people is heard, because the will of the people spoke loud and clear in those meetings. There's 270 participants, and the very clear majority said that they wanted reform with the economic development funds of JADO. And so those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Clark Trammell.
Well, good evening, one and all. I'll make this very quick. I agree with the comments that you all have made as a business person in the community relating to you, my feelings about this council and the people who serve in what positions. Karen, I've known you for a long time. You've done an excellent job, and I thank you for that, as have many, many people. But I do want to also advise you there's a large portion of the community, if you need that support, that would like to see Michelle DeLisla sit in this seat as deputy mayor. I've known Michelle for a decade or better in many business capacities. We worked in this community on many levels in many ways. And she's just an excellent candidate. She's turning out to be an excellent councilwoman, and her input on JADO with that capacity as deputy mayor is very important to the many issues you all, the voting members, those who are not voting, and the rest of the JADO board have in front of them that need to be dealt with. So if you all want to see Karen continue to move forward in some capacity, vote her in as a voting member of JADO and put Michelle as deputy mayor. Excuse me, I'm all choked up, Michelle. Thank you for your time, and I think it's a good decision if that's the one you make. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Council members, if you would then vote on the yellow pages, be sure to vote for one and sign, and then if you would pass the ballots to your left.
And Doug is not handling it.
We have Hiller, De La Isla, De La Isla, De La Isla, Hiller, De La Isla, De La Isla, De La Isla, De La Isla, and Hiller. We have 7 for De La Isla and 3 for Councilmember Hiller.
7 having passed ballots for Michelle De La Isla. She is our new deputy mayor. Congratulations on behalf of the council and the city. Next item on the agenda, if the clerk would read.
B is election of 2 city council voting representatives to serve a 1-year term on the Joint Economic Development Organization Board.
Okay, and council members, as you're aware of the positions, and we do have 2 positions, so we will vote for 2. So we will take nominations, and then at that particular time, we'll be voting for 2 persons. So we have the nominations, or the floor is open for nominations. Deputy Mayor De La Isla.
Thank you, Mayor Wolgast. I would like to nominate Mr. Brendan Jensen to be on the JADO board.
Councilman Jensen has been nominated. Councilman Cohen.
I'd just like to say I was on the JADO voting portion of the JADO, and it was a thoroughly confirming experience. I mean, you got to see, especially with the appointment to the Go Topeka board. Also, I got to see it from both sides. I got to see them implementing or having meetings to implement the Garner report. I was able to see us begin that process. I mean, it was really a good experience for me. So if you guys want to self-nominate, they can do that, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
you can self-nominate. Yes. Brendan Jensen.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to remove myself from the nomination. I do business with emerging businesses in this community, and that could be viewed as a conflict of interest. Whether it is or not, I don't know, but I would not want the appearance that it is. So in lieu of that, I would nominate Richard Harmon.
Councilman Harmon has been nominated. Councilwoman Deputy Mayor De La Isla.
Thank you, Mayor Wolgast. I would like to nominate Ms. Karen Hiller.
Karen Hiller has been nominated. Councilman Harmon.
Sandra, would you be interested in serving?
Okay. I think that was,
Come again?
okay, that was a negative. Okay.
Oh, okay, all right.
All right.
Mayor,
Yes.
who on the council has not served on JADO?
Councilwoman Schwartz, Councilman Shum, and Councilwoman Clare.
And Councilwoman
I would
Clare.
say be those 3.
Okay, I would, may I say it before? I'd like to nominate Councilwoman Schwartz.
Okay, Councilwoman Schwartz has been nominated.
That was quick.
If I may.
Councilwoman Schwartz.
I would like to remove myself because my passion with the city now is the zoo, and I will bring you up to date on all the hours that I am spending with that passion now, later in the meeting. But I too feel like I'm being split too many ways. So, thank you.
All right. Other nominations? Councilwoman Ortiz.
Well, the JADO is a zoo. There's a lot of animals out there.
Very good.
I would like to nominate my boy Shum down there.
Okay. Councilman Shum has been nominated.
Shum.
Are there other nominations? Councilman Harmon.
Thank you. With all due respect, I'd like to withdraw my name from nomination.
All right. Councilman Harmon's has been withdrawn. We have 2 candidates at this point. Councilman Jensen.
Could we review the candidates that are still in the game at this point?
Councilwoman Hiller and Councilman Shum are our nominees at this point.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there other nominations?
I have Cohen, Hiller, and Shuffle. Is
No.
that correct?
Did you self-nominate? Okay. No,
I'd
he's
like
not
to-
going to. Okay, Councilman Ortiz.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Cohen.
Okay. Jeff Cohen has been nominated. Are there other nominations? Are there other nominations? Okay, once many nominations. We declare them closed. We have persons who signed to speak on this. First is Joseph Ledbetter.
Thank you, governing body. I basically said really what I wanted to say at the last little speech that we gave about deputy mayor. Just reminding the members, everybody up here is a JADO member. Unfortunately, you don't all have a vote. You should, but you don't. And so only 2 of you are going to be, with the deputy mayor, are going to be serving as voting members at this time, unless we change that, which I hope we do. It's very important that we implement the Gardner Report, and it's very important that we have that culture of accountability that's called for on that first page of that report of this money. And as we have accountability and as we have public input, we're going to see a lot of good things happen with that money, I believe. But I remain cautiously optimistic, but we've got to have participation of people that really want to participate and serve, and that's all I have to say on that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Clark Trammell.
Well, I got the tears wiped away from my eyes from the last time I was up here. Congratulations, Michelle. 3 excellent candidates, and it would be nice if all 3 of them could be sitting on the JADO board with a vote. I concur with what Joe said. I think you're all sensitive to the motion Mr. Harmon made some time back that's still pending somewhere as to whether you all are all going to vote or going to change that to some sort of quasi-relationship with the county. We're not here to debate that, but it is out there. But Jeff, you've just done a good job. I sent you a note, and there's a great constituency who'd like to see you go forward. Jonathan, I think you're a good man. You and I know each other. We've known each other. I think you'd be a good candidate. And Karen, I already nominated you earlier, so not that I nominate anybody. And I think you'd be great to be seated there. I don't know how you all are going to make this decision, but whichever 2 of these 3 you elect will do an excellent job when it comes to voting JADO and voting for the interests of this community. And I would like to point out to Brendan Jensen, I appreciate what you said and did. I am in your district, and I'm not a fan, but you are going up in my eyes greatly, and that was a very respectful position, and I compliment you for that. So far so good. Thank you all. Good luck, and let me know if I can help in any way. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Carol Marple.
Thank you very much. I'd like to echo what these gentlemen said. They say it much better than I can. We have 3 excellent candidates. It's going to be a very tough choice. So I'm going to say that I truly hope that you will hold firm, the City Council will hold firm about having all the members on the council serve as voting members of JADO. I do not see this as, well, we don't want you because we don't want to be outvoted, as it's been said with the county commission. I think we have to get into the mindset that we want to do best for what is for our county and our city, not who's going to outvote who. I also think it would give you a chance to have a lot of give and take, not be of the mindset that I don't vote, so what I have to say doesn't count. But again, I would like to say you have 3 very excellent candidates. And I do appreciate Mr. Cohen because he brought a lot to the table as a voting member, and he has a lot of experience to go with it. And it is quite a learning curve. You just find more and more things out every day. But again, I really hope that you will hold firm and have all of the county or the council be voting members. And if I can help whoever is elected in any way, again, I would like to help them. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Council members, then, we are ready to vote on the green ballot. We have 3 nominees, Karen Hiller of District 1, Jonathan Shum of District 4, and Jeffrey Cohen of District 8. If you would vote for 2 and sign your ballot, pass it to the left. That's all. Okay. I don't think.
Did you vote for 2?
I don't think I voted. Here's my vote. Do you have one? When you see mine, does it? No, it's there, but.
Did you vote? Did you vote?
Oh, you didn't vote.
I had 2.
Passed it the wrong way. Proper count the vote.
Yeah, did you make sure you signed Okay.
I'm glad somebody else
See, I've
messed
got
up on the
this,
voting.
difficult process we have here.
We have Mr. Shum and Mr. Cohen. Shum and Cohen. Shum and Cohen. Shum and Cohen. Hiller and Cohen. Hiller and Cohen. Hiller and Shum. Shum and Cohen. Hiller and Cohen. Hiller and Shum. Looks like Mr. Shum has 7, Hiller has 5, and Cohen has 8.
Okay, with that, the 2 top are council members Cohen and Shum. All right, that completes our elections. Councilman Ortiz.
I am clapping to congratulate them, and also this didn't take all night. I know the time this has taken. Remember that, Richard?
Yes, we've had some tie votes, re-votes. Okay, we're ready for item C on the action items, public hearing and ordinance. The clerk would read.
C is public hearing and an ordinance introduced by City Manager Jim Colson relating to the vacation of a 14-foot wide north-south utility easement on property located at 1221 Southwest Gage Boulevard within the city of Topeka, Shawnee County, Kansas.
Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to ask Mr. Finder to approach. This will allow the applicant to construct an 1,809 square foot fast food drive-through restaurant, parking outdoor property on the property.
Thank you, City Manager. Good evening, council members, Your Honor. Congratulations, Deputy Mayor. This request is vacating a utility easement that was granted to the city back in 1986 when we vacated the alley there for the development. So since we accepted it, we have to come back before you so you can vacate it. No issues have arisen. The developer has agreed to reroute the sanitary sewer around the new Sonic restaurant building, and staff sees no issues and would support a motion for approval.
Are there questions for Mr. Finder? Councilman Harmon? Okay, moves to approve, and I believe it's in your district.
It is.
Councilwoman Elisla seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes, opposed vote no. I vote yes.
have 10 yes.
And having voted yes, the public hearing and ordinance are completed.
Well, we got that done fast, didn't we?
Yes. We had no public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this issue? That it was noted that it is a public hearing also. We would have to, by meeting statute, we would have that. Anyone wishes to speak on this issue? Seeing none, we will declare that the public hearing is closed. We go to item 5D.
D is an ordinance introduced by Jim Colson, City Manager, amending City of Topeka Code Section 905080 concerning adoption of the 2015 Uniform Public Offense Code and specifically repealing said original section.
Mr. City Manager?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next three items are items that were brought forward by Chief of Prosecution Chuck Kitt a couple of weeks ago. Went in through some details on that particular item. I would suggest that we make Mr. Kitt available for each of the three votes if there's any specific questions. So on this item, we're specifically talking about the Uniform Public Offense Code, or UPOC. So Mr. Kitt is available to answer any questions on that.
Council members, you recall we had the presentation, excellent in-depth presentation at our last council meeting. Are there any questions follow up on that you have? Councilman Ortiz?
Mr. Mayor, can we just get a brief overview? I was here in body, but not mentally here.
That's right. You were a little bit under the weather that night. You want an overview of what is Uniform Public Offense Code and why do we do this?
Yes, the Uniform Public Offense Code is adopted by the League of, or it's written by the League of Municipalities, and it is a collection of ordinances, of standard ordinances that can then be implemented by cities. The 2015 version of the Uniform Public Offense Code makes several what I would consider necessary updates to our ordinances, including intent. Last time I said mens rea, I think that caused some concern, but it's just the criminal intent is updated on several of the offenses. It clarifies it. So, and there's some other substantive changes that were made to some of our ordinances, and I outlined those in a memo to the council before I was here last time. But I can answer any specific questions you might have.
Okay. Your pleasure. Councilman Ortiz moves to approve. Councilwoman Claire seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no. I vote yes.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voted yes, the ordinance is approved. Item E. The clerk would read.
E is an ordinance introduced by City Manager Jim Colson, amending City of Topeka Code Sections 10-15010 and 10-15020, specifically repealing said original sections concerning the adoption of the 2015 Standard Traffic Ordinance and amendments.
Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I will follow the format that was just established. Chuck, if you could give maybe just a very brief overview what the STO is and why we do it.
Much like the Uniform Public Offense Code, the STO is just a collection of traffic ordinances that the city has adopted in the past. 2015 makes a few clarifications in the ordinances, makes a few changes. Those were detailed in the memo, and I certainly can answer any questions or try to.
And this updates so that all cities, in a sense, have the same traffic standards, codes,
yes,
fines, et cetera. So whatever city you're in, they should be generally the same.
Yeah, that's the intent.
Brings us up to date.
This is generally adopted. There are some changes that have been made in the past. One specific change would be like a driving while suspended third. The city's chosen in the past not to adopt a third offense, which requires a mandatory minimum 90 days in jail. Any offense that would meet that definition is sent over to the district attorney. So there are some other changes like that in there as well.
Councilman Shum.
Move to approve.
Move to approve. Councilwoman Claire seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no. I vote yes.
We have 10 yes.
And having voted yes, the ordinance is approved. Item F, ordinance on expungement of convictions. Clerk would read.
F is an ordinance introduced by City Manager Jim Colson concerning expungement of certain convictions in municipal court, amending City of Topeka Code Section 2-110-660 and repealing original section.
Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Kitt?
Yes, there's several changes that were made in the state statute regarding expungements. In 2015, the criminal offense for carrying a knife was repealed. The correction to the state statute on expungements now allows an immediate expungement for anybody that was convicted of carrying a knife. Since that's no longer illegal, the thought process is they should be immediately available to get an expungement. There is also a change made to driving under the influence, first offense, convictions or diversions. The state statute was amended to allow expungements after 5 years of a sentence being completed. Previously, it was 10 years by state statute. Our ordinance was adopted at the time it was 10 years, and that's what our ordinance is currently. So this amendment is changing it from 10 years to 5 years on a first-time DUI conviction or diversion.
All right, are there questions for Mr. Kitt? Councilman Ortiz?
I don't know if this is for Mr. Kidd, and I don't know if City Manager, you know, we talked about different expungements, not any of these that are listed. Is this all that this corrects? Are these expungements that are listed? We talked about the other ones that come up that have the felonies or, you know, the security guards. That doesn't address this, though, does it?
The only changes that I'm recommending would be to the time periods required. It doesn't make any substantive changes to when you would still have to disclose whether you've had a conviction expunged or not. I don't know if that answers your question directly or not. But.
Jim, do you understand? Me and you had this conversation.
Yeah, I don't believe that, well, I can say that this doesn't address any of that. And the issue that we generally have been running into is the lack of disclosure as opposed to the timeframes associated with.
But I know there were some timeframes, but this probably doesn't address that.
This does not.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Deputy Mayor DeLisla?
Motion to approve.
Moves to approve. Councilwoman Claire seconds. Discussion. All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no. I vote yes.
We have 10 yes.
And having voted yes, the ordinance is approved. Thank you, Mr. Kitt, for your excellent presentations the last time and this time. Item 5G, ordinance on loan executives.
G is an ordinance introduced by City Manager Jim Colson concerning department heads and assistance from employees of other government entities, amending City of Topeka Code Section 2-25090 and repealing the original section.
Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Robertson.
As you know, we have an ordinance on the books that currently prohibits the city manager to enter into employment agreements without council approval when it comes to department directors. And the same would apply to severance agreements with any employees. And as you may be aware, we've had a situation that we entered into a loan executive agreement with another city and found the code to be a little bit vague in this regard. So what we've done here is to try to clarify that situation a little bit and to indicate that what we did with the loan executive situation was in accordance with the law, and we just want to clarify that in the code itself. So 2.25090, the way that it's written right now, the proposed amendment would be to add a subsection B and talk about the fact that the governing body does not need to approve a contract with another governmental entity who's going to basically loan us an individual who works for that entity for a short period of time.
Okay, if you've seen the ordinance, and this is Section A of the proposed ordinance where this statement is made.
Subsection B.
All right, thank you. The underlined section. I was looking at the first one. Councilwoman Claire.
This appears to me that it was written to cover what happened. It was written to make it okay that the city manager entered into this contract. Because of what happened and because of the calls I received, I would not go along with this. I want to know if this happens again before it happens, so I'm not blindsided. So I think the council needs to be brought in on that and needs to approve any contract with another city.
Okay, yeah, City Attorney.
I would disagree with that, and as I've stated in meetings before, the code does not address this particular situation, and it's vague, and I think it needs to be addressed, because right now it's very clear department directors who get employment contracts, or any employee who gets a severance agreement, must receive governing body approval before a city manager can sign a contract. But it is not prohibited anywhere in this code to enter into an agreement with another governmental entity to retain the services of one of their employees for a short-term period of time.
Okay, Councilman Claire.
But it could be. But it could be.
I don't think it is. I think in court, we had a strong case, and I don't want to get into all of that, but rather than proceeding with litigation, I think that the best course of action at this point would be to just address the situation quite clearly so that we don't have to go to court to litigate the fact that I think we're right. It's going to take time, effort. If you win, you still lose. So I think this is the best approach going forward.
Okay, then I misunderstand what you're saying. So aren't we writing this?
This is our proposed solution to make sure it's not vague anymore. Otherwise, you have to litigate it and have a court decide.
But you're writing it to exactly what happened, so it's not vague. So we could write it as I suggested, so it's not vague.
Okay.
To obtain approval? Mm-hmm. You could do that.
Okay.
You
Mr.
could do
City
that.
Manager.
Yeah, so thank you, and I don't, I just want to make sure there's no misunderstanding. So this has nothing, while it certainly addresses the issue of previous, but it doesn't have any impact on the past actions. It only has anything going in the future. And the settlement agreement was that whether it passes or whether it doesn't pass, whether the council takes action, whether the council doesn't take action, really is irrelevant. The key was to have this discussion as to clear up what, and I don't even know if vague is the right word, it is silent on there. And the way that the legal has interpreted it is that the silence allowed it to happen, but I do agree with Councilmember Claire. It's best that we do have a definition of what should and shouldn't happen, because the last thing that you want is a disagreement between the executive and the governing body to go forward. And my motivation in terms of entering into the settlement and this action was so that we could focus on fire, and so that we could allow Chief Wayne, while he's here, to really make the progress that we need within the organization, which I think is working well, but this is something that we need to address.
Okay, Councilman Shum, and then
Thank you. I want to first start off by recognizing Councilwoman Clear's concern, and I certainly understand why we might want to consider a vote of no on this, just as a protest for the way things did happen. But that would leave us without any guidance on this for anything that comes up in the future. So I do want to address it some which way. My question would be for Lisa. Under the alternative language, the first subsection B, we have the sentence that ends, provided the city manager has advised the governing body of at least 20 days prior to the execution of the contract. I'm concerned that that's still too vague, because it doesn't specify whether the contract would be with an individual or with another governing body. So I would like to at least have that discussion here at the council level if we need to make that language more specific or not.
I don't believe that, I'm sorry, Mayor, I don't believe the proposed language has been submitted yet. We're still dealing with this language that's here.
Okay, so we're still in subsection A, I'm sorry.
Correct.
Councilman Jensen.
Thank you, Your Honor. So as I read the initial proposed language, oh, well, wait a minute. No, this isn't. So does the language that's being proposed now include the 20-day mandatory notification?
Okay, I think we need to clarify this page.
This is not what we're voting on then.
No, it is what is in the book.
Yeah, in the document, in the ordinance.
It was posted.
Attached to the agenda is.
We've also changed the agenda tonight.
Yeah, but this one is still there.
All right. Perhaps a recess is in order so we can make sure we're all reading the correct language then.
Well, I think this was, the proposed sheet given to us was the possibility of an amendment.
Right, but that's not what we're voting on now.
Correct. It has not been brought to us, it's not
That's
been
not what
brought
we're
before the
discussing.
body. Right.
Okay.
Okay, we're together on that. Councilwoman Ortiz, or did you want to comment?
Well, I just wanted to make sure not to exceed 6 months in duration, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. I kind of agree with Jonathan that if we vote for nothing, it'll still be the same. I just wish it hadn't came to this. I wish that we could start trusting each other that whatever it is, however you see it, you could bring it forth and say, here's what I want to do. I think that would alleviate a lot of issues, a lot of problems. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Deputy, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Hiller.
Just Councilwoman.
Councilwoman Hiller.
Thank you, Mayor.
Somebody over here. Yes. No, I was seeing if someone over here had their hand up, so I'd be ready to recognize them. But you have the floor.
Either way. Well, I did have some conversations with City Attorney Robertson about this issue based on the kinds of things that have been cited already. I personally supported the process of the hiring, and I believe the city manager had the best of intentions. So it's kind of a good time, now that we're moving on, to address this issue perhaps. It seemed that the problem we had was that the search process was outside the normal hiring process, and also issues of communication about that process, both with the council and with the public. As I kind of stepped back and said, what was the problem? I'm not certain, other people can say, whether it was really that we had an intergovernmental agreement. It was how it came about and concerns that the public had as well. So I think if we're going to do anything about amending the code, that we should do something that addresses what those problems were. That being, when do we okay something that's outside a normal hiring process? How do we do that, and how do we communicate about it? So what you have in front of you is one draft that came out of those conversations. This was proposed to me by Ms. Robertson in terms of a possibility, and that one, the one that's got the different colors on it that she handed out at the beginning of the meeting, is the one that suggests a little bit different language, and it talks about approval shall be required prior to the city manager signing any employment contracts that do not follow the Department of Human Resources process for recruitment and selection. In other words, the normal hiring process. And then she goes ahead and includes the language about procurement ordinances. Then there's similar language about specifically intergovernmental, and then the severance language that's been proposed. I want to hand out another even simpler version that we talked about, and that one simply says approval by the governing body shall be required prior to the city manager signing any employment contracts outside the normal hiring process. And then the same language for the no severance. Simply making it simple. And to me, it's not because I am at all interested in this council or this governing body having anything to do with hiring, to get in the way of the city manager's normal hiring process, but the process of something that would drive that advanced communication, so that to protect the city manager as well as the council, that if we were doing something outside normal processes, that people knew, and that it was okay. So.
Are you moving, did you move that as an amendment?
The handout that I had was built on the amended version that was then amended again. So I actually have a first page of that shows how to move the amendments all the way down the line. If it's possible to just propose a substitute, which would be...
Well, we have no amendments before us.
We don't have anything on the floor.
We don't have nothing, yeah, correct.
We haven't proposed anything.
We haven't proposed taking any action.
Correct.
So I would suggest it would be best if we do have a motion to approve the ordinance before us, and then we can take action on it, amend and vote, et cetera.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to question whether we want to vote on this tonight or not. Typically, we review something for a week, and I think while there's confusion about which language we're voting on, that maybe this should be a discussion-only item tonight, and then be moved to next week's agenda for a vote up or down and amendments.
And so that would be then handled by, it really would be, since it's on the agenda, it would be a motion to defer.
It would be a
until
motion to defer, but I do want to have discussion on it tonight.
Right.
But perhaps we should have public comment before I make that motion.
All right. Council members, Councilman Harmon.
Thank you, Your Honor. I agree with Councilman Shum. This is the first time we've seen this proposed ordinance. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 amendments to be considered. I think it would not be prudent for us to vote on this tonight. I think we need a time to digest the initial proposed ordinance and to consider the ramifications of all 4 possible amendments. So if there's a motion to defer, I would certainly agree with it. Is there one on the floor, Your Honor?
No, there is not. We have no motion on the floor.
Okay, I would make a motion to defer for 1 week.
It's been moved by Mr. Harmon and seconded by Ms. Ortiz to defer action on this agenda item for 1 week, until next week's meeting. Before we vote on that, we'll give an opportunity for the public comment. Clark Trammell.
Good evening again. I don't have the privilege to have the documents you have in front of you, but they're about as clear as mud to all of us out here, but I think we kind of understand what you're saying. But putting my business hat on relative to having this opportunity for input, since you are going to bring this up again next week, instead of me talking at you, it's kind of like I'm talking with you for a change, and I like that. I want to just point out in your dissertations and thought processes that your city manager is your CEO. And as such, he should be having the authority, to a point, to make certain decisions without having to say, Mother, may I go here or there. However, this being a public body, just like any board, you are a board in your own way, the CEO does have the responsibility to acknowledge to you when certain key important things are taking place, so you're not embarrassed, you're not caught off guard, and everybody's comfortable with it, because you may have input that could be vital to that decision. Whether you need your vote or not isn't the issue. It's the respect and the courtesy of the brain trust and the relationship here. So I offer one short thing to you all, not seeing your document, that may just clear up everything, and it is just have this one sentence, little line you've got here, and it says require governing body approval for employment agreements with department heads, period. That pretty much says it all. And then define what a department head is, and the rest of it will fall in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Council, we have a motion and a second before us. Any discussion? Councilman Shum.
Thank you. Lisa, could you advise us whether deferring this for a week would violate the agreement that we came to with former Representative Alcala?
It will not.
Representative Alcala.
Councilmember Shum, it will not at all, because you all don't even have to take any action on this. It was not a part of the agreement for them to dismiss their lawsuit. Okay. No action needs to be taken on the part of the governing body at all.
Thank you for clarifying.
Okay, other discussion? If not, all those, I'm sorry, Deb.
If I could just clarify further, so the agreement was that we needed to consider something.
Correct.
We did not have to.
Correct, Councilmember Hiller. The agreement was that we would present it to the governing body for discussion.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other, Councilman Schwartz.
Thank you, Your Honor. I guess that's my question then. Why wasn't it put on the agenda as a non-action discussion item, and it was put on the action instead of, and so that we could discuss it this week and vote next week? That's my question.
Councilmember Schwartz, I think the only explanation is that at the time all of this was in transition, they had the dismissal in hand and wanted to see that it was posted on the agenda, and it went very quickly, and it may have just got posted in the wrong place.
Okay. Other discussion, questions? Seeing none, the motion is to defer action on this ordinance for 1 week. All those in favor of the deferment vote yes. Opposed vote no. I vote yes.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voted yes, the item is deferred for 1 week. That completes our action items for this evening. We will go now to the non-action items. The first is a discussion item. If the clerk would read.
A is discussion for the purpose of providing an update on the City of Topeka Health and Wellness Center.
Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to ask Jackie Russell, the Director of Human Resources, to come forward, and then she is going to introduce two people that provide our Wellness Center.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening. This evening I have with me representatives from HealthStat, and they are the operator of the City of Topeka's Health and Wellness Center, our on-site clinic that opened for employee utilization. And they're going to kind of just go over a overview of what the clinic has been doing since it opened. So this evening I'd like to introduce Daniel Stafford. He's the National Vice President from HealthStat, and Ari Bram, Business Unit Vice President. And they're going to go through a short presentation to kind of just brief you all.
Okay.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. First, I want to say it's an honor to have you all as a partner, an honor to be here presenting to you, and thank you, Councilwoman Schwartz. I believe this was something you recommended when we had the Health and Wellness Committee, or the Health Advisory Committee earlier. So our presentation tonight, while it's 22 slides, we do promise after an hour into this that it will be quick. So we're going to be in three parts. The first is kind of where we've been so far, what we've done. The second part's going to be, and Ari's going to come up for this to talk about what have been the results of those actions that we've taken. And then finally, we're going to close out with what's next, what are the next steps, and what are we going to be doing. So I'll pause briefly on the mission and vision. You've all probably had a chance to read this, but I do want to at least read through. The one thing I'm going to read off of a PowerPoint slide tonight is our vision, because I think it's really truly what we're doing here, which is to practice healthcare as it should be, convenient for your employees, effective for all of those receiving it, and then life-changing, which I have, and affordable, which I've got a great story to share with you a little bit later about the life-changing piece. So let's talk about our timeline. We had the first big action we took with the City of Topeka was our health risk assessment. And just as a quick reminder, a health risk assessment, we came on site, we actually did height, weight, blood pressure, we did some blood tests that is used to do the follow-up. So those health risk assessments occurred August 31st through September 11th. We sent groups here on site to conduct those at 9 locations across the city. Following that, as we were building out the clinic space, we actually opened a temporary clinic where all the employees had the opportunity to follow up on those health risk assessment results, so they're getting that immediate coaching, because it's important to start to address that as soon as we can. So we did HRA follow-up visits, some episodic visits, because people are going to have cough, cold, and flu in the fourth quarter of the year. It's non-preventable, and then flu clinics, which Ari, again, will talk about a little later. And then really excited that January 8th, we opened the full-service clinic with Leah as your provider to begin seeing your employees on a regular basis. So with that timeline, I'd like to turn it over to Ari, and Ari, if you'll kind of fill us in on what we've accomplished so far.
Again, thank you all for having us here today. It's a great honor to be able to be here. So what we'd like to get into at this point is just a recap of the health risk assessments that took place towards the end of 2015 as we got clinic operations underway. So to Daniel's point, the on-site assessment was towards the end of August into September, and in-clinic HRAs took place from October through the end of the year. At that point, we had about 906 participants out of a total of 1,093 eligibles. So from those numbers, we see 83% of all the eligibles did participate in the health risk assessment. When we took the results of that HRA, we see here in the blue line is Topeka participants, and the green is against the HealthStat book of business average. So from Topeka's point of view, 52% of your participants were at risk for body mass, for the BMI, 41% at risk for cholesterol, 18% at risk for blood pressure, and that's below the health stat average, but we see here that there is room for improvement based upon the results that we received in 2015. These three measures that you see here are self-reported: tobacco products, diabetes status, and last physical exam. So if someone has not had a physical within the past 2 years, it's reported as a risk, because we're also not in the business to try to take your relationship away from your primary care provider. We still want to partner with them to try to get you both with that individual and to do follow-up in the clinic as well. So part of what we're doing here for those who participate or want to participate in the wellness program is to not only complete your HRA, but to do a follow-up visit as well with the clinician. So what we did at that point to be able to accommodate everyone who's coming in for those 906 participants was to add additional staff. It was part-time staff, but we wanted to make sure that anyone who wanted that follow-up visit as quickly as possible was able to. So we brought in between 48 and 56 hours a week. To take a look into 2016 numbers, so these are as of February 29th of this year, 872 individuals have had a follow-up visit, and that 906 went up to 926 participants who completed an HRA. That's a 94% rate of those who completed the follow-up for those participating in the wellness program. Those are great numbers. For flu shot clinics, just to take a step back, these occurred in October 2015. There were 8 events at 4 different locations with a total of 465 shots being administered at that point. So yeah, it's a lot of shots. But what I'd like to do now is just give you a brief overview of the clinic utilization up to the end of February 2016. There's a total of just under 1,400 visits that took place from the clinic opening through February 29th, with 1,921 clinic encounters taking place. We see the breakdown there of a percentage, 71% being your episodic and 29% being more of disease management and chronic care. For your current clinic participation, it's 76%, and that is anyone who has had an HRA and or a clinic visit. So that's 954 participants, and you can see here your eligibles has increased as well. Yes.
Excuse me, if I could ask a question. Can you define the episodic
Sure.
encounters?
Someone who's coming in for more of a sick, acute visit, for cold, flu, anything that's not an ongoing.
I don't feel well, so I go in.
I have a sore throat.
Yeah.
I'd like to be seen that day.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. And then overall, we see that there's an 82% participation rate with all of the eligibles. With that, we have a great success story, and I'm going to hand it back over to Daniel. Thank you all.
So I said, excuse me, I'll wait till the mic. So I said I'm only going to read from one slide. I promise I'm not going to read this, and I'm going to paraphrase. This is a direct statement provided to us by Leah, the provider. And so I'm going to just distill it down to this. This individual knew that he or she had a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes. They couldn't afford their medicine, they couldn't afford their follow-up visits, and they had read somewhere that maybe taking cinnamon pills or highly concentrated cinnamon pills might help them to control their blood sugar. We finally got this individual engaged in the clinic through the health risk assessment. They had high glucose levels. We did what we would do with anyone in that. If as you look back through the slides that Ari presented, you see you had actually a large number of individuals with elevated glucose. We did an A1C test, which is like a 90-day average for blood sugar, and his or her, I don't even know if it's a male or female, but his or her level was at 11%, and I'll just tell you, that's really high. And so over that time, we've been able to work with Tria Health to help get the cost of the medications for this patient under control. We've been able to continue to do follow-up visits, and while this person is not completely out of the water yet, they've improved their A1C scores from 11% down to 9%, so they're heading in the right direction. One that's not posted in this presentation that we were able to get from Leah very recently was there was a male who had a PSA test, and that PSA test was part of the health risk assessment for any male that was 40 and over, and PSA stands for prostate specific antigen. This individual had an off the charts number. So there was follow-up testing. We actually were able to get a very early diagnosis of prostate cancer. So this individual, quite possibly, when I told you at the beginning of my statement, the life-changing piece, quite possibly you all partnering to put an on-site clinic saved that individual's life. So just wanted to highlight that piece. As we move through, I promised that I would close with kind of telling you what's next. So some of this is already in place. We always love showing you pictures of the clinic staff. If you haven't had an opportunity to meet Leah or Tammy yet, we look forward to you getting that opportunity. Also, posting the clinic schedule there on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays as stated. And what are we doing to keep utilization up? So we have nearly, I think Ari said, roughly 1,400 visits since the clinic opened. So we have all of this health risk assessment, this health data on individuals. So 170 of the individuals that we talked about earlier actually have 4 or more risk factors, which we consider our highest risk individuals. So we're actually working from the highest risk to lowest risk by making personal outreach phone calls from the clinic staff, from Leah and from Tammy. In addition to what the clinic is doing for utilization, HealthStat Corporate also wants to focus on getting individuals into the clinic, because until we get someone in there, we can't really do that provide that life-changing care. So we're actually working, in addition to the health risk assessment results, we're utilizing your claims data to understand who has gaps in care, who is not getting their preventative exams, who's not getting retinal exams for type 2 diabetes, those type of indications for what individuals should be getting. And we're reaching out via text if we have numbers for those individuals, email if we have numbers for those individuals, because we realize that you can't just make phone calls anymore and engage individuals. So we're doing that from the corporate office for folks that haven't come in. For our top 20% riskiest, we're actually having our health coaches in Charlotte making outreach calls to those individuals, and also continuing to have the clinic provider reach out. Some ongoing initiatives, we're continuing to do monthly newsletters, we're providing handouts, lunch and learn PowerPoint presentations that are being provided to Leah, and Leah can start to discuss around the city. We are well into we're working through the implementation for MyHS, which is HealthStat's wellness portal. So it's an opportunity for someone to do some self-directed wellness activities. They'll be able to go on and track calories, water challenges, all those things that you may hear about in a wellness portal. And I promised I would get through 22 slides as quickly as possible.
Very good.
So that is the end of my presentation. Again, thank you very much. We've enjoyed very much working with the City of Topeka and look forward to a continued partnership.
So the HealthStat has a contract with the city to provide this service, correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
Are Leah and Tammy here? No, okay.
No.
I was going to have them be introduced if they were. They are your employees?
They are. They are employees of HealthStat.
Okay, very good. Are there other questions, comments? Councilwoman Schwartz?
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't have a question, but I just want to offer a few comments. I want to commend Nikki because she was really responsible for us, the Wellness Committee going up to Olathe. She came to Topeka from Olathe and told us about the program that they had. We went up there and we learned and we hope to get there, for every dollar they spend, they get a $6 return. So we believe that keeping our employees healthy are going to reduce our health insurance costs, and it's going to really help the city. They have a spouse and family program in Olathe, and I'd hope that someday is what we also add to ours. And then finally, what they moved into then is where you do categories of where you place your outcome is placed in a category, and if you improve your health outcomes, you actually get bonuses from their city. The Olathe does that. So I really think that keeping healthy employees is what our aim should be, and you guys have really helped to do that. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Councilman Jensen?
Thank you, Your Honor. So outside of the obvious health benefits to our staff, do we have any idea when this will actually begin to save us money?
That's a great question. So the way we actually have a guarantee in place, I believe, with the city of Topeka. So at the end of 12 months, we guarantee a 1-to-1 return on your investment based on claims improvement. Quite honestly, I think you're already saving money. And I'll tell you just the second example that I gave, the individual that had the prostate concern. Diagnosing someone in an early stage is going to be much more affordable. And the same with the type 2 the diabetic individual. Just as an example, uncontrolled diabetics are somewhere around $3,700 a year more expensive. So
that's better than I expected. Thank you.
Councilman Ortiz.
Thank you. I had some of those same questions, and so I'll just make a comment. I've talked to several employees, and they are very, very happy with staff. They said they are very timely, very courteous, and I just wanted to throw that out there since you know those are your staff, and they like how they get them in and out of there. So I think this is working, and it'll be exciting to see when we can get families in.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Councilman Shum.
I want to give you credit for an understatement. I've watched my father battle prostate cancer over the past year and watched how it's affected my family financially, and I can assure you, you've already saved the city quite a bit of money. So with the personal experience, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the comments. Councilwoman Hiller.
Thank you. Kudos first. Councilwoman Schwartz, you really took a lot of leadership, and certainly to Jackie and others at HR, I don't know if she's still here, but to move us forward in ways that were intended to both have our employees be healthier as well as to save the city money. And so it really is exciting to me to see it move along. I do have a question. I haven't been over to the new clinic yet, but I've been to the assessments and so on in the hallway, and the staff has been just great as well. One of the things I wondered, though, about saving money, I'm in that bottom 20%. I'm not your target. And so with that, and I had this discussion with Leah, or both of them actually, maybe, I want to draw it out for you. The idea was to save money, then if I'm getting all of anybody in the bottom 20%, but all of us really, are getting our assessments and our preventive care through the clinic, then if we're not sick otherwise, chronically, how does your system help us preserve our relationships with our primary care physicians? We also have employees along the way, such as our firefighters, who, by their contracts, are supposed to go see other people besides our clinic. So how do we work that?
You know, that is a fantastic question. So typically someone that has absolutely no risk, when they come into the clinic to meet with Leah, it's typically around a health risk assessment or a health risk assessment follow-up. And she's gonna send that information back to your primary care physician to make sure that you're still being seen there. And to help keep healthy people healthy is the intent of activities like the newsletters, the activities like the MyHS Wellness Portal, specifically focused on preventing you from becoming 21% or higher from a risk standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just thought it was great, except that what I realized is that in order to keep up my relationship, I had to ask to have my records sent over because they were just keeping them. I said, how are they going to know what I'm doing? What if I do get sick? And so they did set that up, which I really appreciated. But I also, if 3 to 5 years go by, that guy's not going to know me. How is there a way that you all build into that system, helping people maintain that primary care physician without going to see them?
So a lot of times we have to take into account intent. So with our clinics, for better or worse, a lot of patients begin to see just the on-site clinic that are healthy. So what happens if you do need to see that physician again is we help rebuild that medical history with that primary care physician when you do need to go back to see him or her. But we also have clients, or we have participants that may never go back to see their primary care physician, and we're coordinating almost 100% of their care through the clinic. From a cost-saving standpoint, that's definitely a deferment of that cost. It saves any employee money on co-pays or co-insurance or however the plan design may change or evolve. So, to be completely honest, there's a situation where we may not keep them informed if you choose to come just to us for 5 years. We package all of that medical history, all of that information, and are able to transmit that as needed to any specialist primary care provider. but it is on the part of the patient, because a lot of times we will ask if the patient has a primary care physician where they'd like to continue their relationship. I would argue that you're the exception that has that type of dedicated relationship. We find that patients are much more transient now in the world of medicine. It's a confusing place. If we're in an HMO, maybe establish something at some point, but I think you're also the exception. But it's something that we should be coaching the patients as they come in and asking that question. If we're doing any lab work, can we send that information, as we've set up, it sounds like for you, directly to that primary care physician?
So you can serve as that primary care physician for referrals then?
So I don't think there's any health plan limitations.
There's no referrals required.
Yeah, so with the health plan design, we can refer, but with the plan design, it sounds like an individual doesn't require a referral to go see a specialist or anyone else.
Thank you.
Are there other questions? Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you for having us.
Very helpful, beneficial to us. The next non-action item is a discussion, and if the clerk would read.
B is discussion regarding consideration of an extension of time for submission of development agreements from Constitution Hall, Historic Jayhawk Theater, and Downtown Plaza to receive transient guest tax funding.
Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The three applicants that are represented in this action are seeking a 90-day extension so that they can complete the activities associated with their development agreements. We have each of the three entities here, and I thought as we got started, we'd give each of them a couple of minutes to come forward. And first, we'd ask Grant Glenn.
Okay, can I do that?
Yes, sorry, sir. Yes.
Is Mr. Glenn here? Yeah, okay. Could you come forward, please? And I think the idea is take about 2 or 3 minutes to explain why, or the purpose for the request. I don't think we want to go into all the depth of the process you're going through, but why is it necessary to seek a request for an extension? And that does get into your project a bit, but does that make sense?
I'll try.
All right.
If I may.
Sure.
I'm Grant Glenn on behalf of the Friends of the Free State Legislature in Constitution Hall. We have been engaged in this process of trying to make our project fit into the mold so that we're eligible for these funds. And the idea is that we want to be able to do the improvements soon, even though the stream of money comes in over 12 years. And so at this point, we're trying to figure out if we can possibly finance the improvements that need to take place with lenders. And in order to do that, we've started speaking to lenders, and there may be some requirements that may require this body to make some changes in its enabling ordinance. But we don't know that yet for sure. We're still in the dialogue phase with that. But our hope is that we will be able to finance the improvements, and the lenders can count on that stream of payments that once we've met the necessary qualifications, just the same as a construction loan. So that is the real short of it, and I think we're all in a similar position. It's just that we're not far enough along in that process to be able to complete the negotiation. We need to know what the lenders are going to require before we ask you if we need any changes.
Okay, and I think they're asking for a 90-day extension.
That is correct.
Do you feel 90 days is sufficient?
It's sufficient to keep the dialogue going. I think if we said 180 days, that it might be 150 before we get something done. And if we have 90 days, we've got a relatively short stick to get back if we don't get it completed.
Okay, Councilwoman Claire.
I have two questions. One is for someone. Does this extend the time frame of the 12 years, or does this just,
no.
Is it still 12?
Okay, City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor, this would have no impact on the 12 years and the funding. It's really just the agreement that would be allowing them to have access to the funding.
Okay.
And then when we pass the agreement, it's in there that the agreement must be completed within 180 days. I think we put that so that it didn't go on forever. And now they're saying for all of these reasons, they need an extension. They can't achieve that in 180 days. So we're giving them, in a sense, the proposal is to give them another 90 to come with us, to work out with the city an agreement. And then that would come before the council.
Okay. Then I have a real blunt question.
Sure.
When did you start working on this? I mean, have you been working on this for a long period of time, or?
Yeah, we got a proposed development agreement, and quite honestly, we'd been encouraged that we might be able to renegotiate with the city and get our payment in one lump sum. So we tried to negotiate that, and we were told, no, it's not going to work that way. So then we started looking for other avenues. So it's just it's a time-consuming process. It's nobody's fault. It's just back and forth.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Councilman Chum.
Thank you. And I want to kind of follow up on this as just a discussion item, not directly at you, Mr. Glenn. But when we looked at this last year, we turned down applicants. And so for 75% of the projects to not be ready within the time frame given, where did we go wrong? This grant process, I mean, 90 days, 180 days, that would give us sufficient to keep the dialogue going? That's not readiness. That's not the organizations that applied for the funds taking this seriously. And I understand it's not easy, but that was clear when everyone applied for the money. I know we had a discussion. What's shovel ready? What's ready to go? For 75% of the projects to not be ready may suggest that we picked the wrong ones.
Okay. I think it'd be helpful if the city manager, city attorney could describe what we are asking them to do. You know, what, in order to have a complete agreement, what are some of the things they have to be providing us?
Mayor, those things were outlined in the resolution itself, and part of those were an operating plan. They have to provide a timeline, a construction timeline with milestones. They have to provide project design, economic impact. So those things are anticipated to be submitted, along with or shortly thereafter a development agreement being signed. But I think the primary obstacle, at least as I've been told, is the financing component.
Okay, and that's speaking for all.
Right.
Does that, no, go ahead.
So as a
Councilman Chum.
follow-up question directed at our council members, do we need to look at how we're bidding this out?
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to change how the TGT committee operates as far as the time frame that we give folks? Because either we're unreasonable with the time frame, 75% says that either we're unreasonable, the issue's either with us or with the applicants. And I think that's a good thing for us to discuss and figure out where the fault lies. It might be with us, so that we don't have this next year, or not next year, but in the future when this comes up.
Okay, I think Councilman Jensen, and then, you want to go? Okay, Councilman Schwartz.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think we're paving new ground here. All of these applications, we have not done this before, so we're going through a new process, trying to figure out where the money from the transient guest tax, and I told somebody today, I said, I'd love to change it to the lodging tax because it doesn't sound quite right when you say the transient guest tax. But this whole process has been a new process. We did have some grants that we had given out through the Heritage funds, and that was kind of a learning curve. Bill Fyander has been to all the meetings and talked about, the grant process. We've had the Landmarks Commission involved in a lot of this. It just takes time. I don't think there's any fault that lies with any of our grantees that we're working with. I think, working around the legal world and the finance world, it just takes time. So I don't think that we should relook at how we're going to, give this money out. And this is for a certain length of time now, 12 years. So I believe that once we get it underway, that we're all going to be very proud of the decisions that we made. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Jensen.
Thank you, Your Honor. So realistically, all of these projects are shovel-ready, sans lots and lots of money. And basically everything on the list of candidates that we reviewed was ready without a lot of money. So what I see happening here is organizations that are trying to leverage the little bit of money that we're able to give them as a slingshot to accelerate them faster down the road of acquiring the large sums of money they need. And I think it's commendable that they're trying to leverage the tiny amount we've provided to actually accomplish something and get it done. So I fully support giving them the extension. I do agree with you, Councilman Shum, in that the goal of providing this slingshot was that it actually get fired in a reasonable amount of time. So I don't necessarily know that continued 90-day extensions is a good idea again and again. However, my understanding is that all three of these organizations are making significant progress, and that giving them this extension will give them the ability to put what they need in place so that they can actually get something accomplished, as opposed to receive a tiny amount of change for 12 years and be basically stuck in the same place they are now. Thank you.
Councilman Shum.
Thank you, Councilman Jensen. So perhaps we should have given them 270 days right off the bat instead of 180. Would that have been better for this process?
I would believe so, yes. Part of the reason that I believe the number was set to a smaller deal was just to get them started going on a reasonable deadline. Giving someone an entire year to do something, essentially, you work on what's on fire right now and put it off. So this sort of moved the fire up a little bit and got them going, and I think they're making excellent progress.
Okay, other discussion. We're sort of discussing in general, which is appropriate, but we do want to give the other two the opportunity to come up and have the same, if they have the same reasons or whatever. Is there someone here from the historic Jayhawk Theater? Mr. Carson, would you want to, I guess, and our purpose was for you to state why you feel an extension, 90-day extension is necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. We are at the Jayhawk Theater trying to hang on to a flying rocket ship right now. It's so exciting. And this money could not come at a better time because the momentum that's going on downtown is incredible. And the challenge for us has been trying, as Grant said, to fit the mold of a 12-year agreement when we all have very large ticket items that we kind of need to get done in a hurry. So we're trying also to leverage this funds in whatever way we can so that bankers and a coalition of bankers most likely can help us by lending us a couple $100,000 perhaps so that we can get air conditioning or electrical done in our project. And I think that certainly in the other two projects that would be a similar concern. We also are on the cusp of hiring an executive director. And a lot of that depends on the TGT situation. I think an executive director is a common sense thing for a big, complex project like ours. And so that will affect, how we want to forge this agreement as well. And finally, we're also reviewing our architect services, and that will also affect our estimate of costs and opinion of costs and how we will tackle this project, and that's going to affect our report that will be contained in the application or in development agreement for our budget purposes. So hang on, we're doing well, and all three of us have been talking, and I really commend Lisa and staff for helping us get our heads around how we can approach this and make it work best for the city.
Okay. Are there questions for Mr. Carson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Claire.
I kind of agree with Councilman Shum. And again, to be blunt, what have you been doing for the last 180 days? I mean, did you just decide yesterday to hire an executive director?
No.
Did you not know this 6 months ago?
Well, certainly we've known for years that that was the intention. However, we recently had an applicant show up at our door with a whole lot of credibility and experience, and that certainly got us excited about it. But it's the financing part of it that's the most difficult part. It's just that, for many reasons, it's a project in flux, and adding an executive director changes the dynamic in the organization after 20 years of trying to get this thing going.
Well, for my information, can you, for both of these, I don't have as much experience as Councilwoman Schwartz. How does it take 6 months to get a loan? Financial loan for this?
Well, we've been asking bankers, and I can speak on behalf of everybody, how that would look to the bankers. And of course, banking has undergone a whole lot of changes, and they need some language in the agreement that helps them feel secure in with their oversight people, that they're making a sound decision on making a loan to an organization like this. And what they really want is some guarantee that the allocation will continue as it has for years and years and years, and as it did with the Great Overland Station and other projects, soccer complex and that sort of thing, uninterrupted, so that we can then count on that to help us repay that loan. And that's essentially what we're talking about.
6 months.
Mm-hmm. Well, I tell you what, it took, it was October, I believe, when, I can't remember when we got it was October when the decision was made to allocate the money, but it was a period of time before we saw a development agreement, so it took some time and holidays and all of that. And remember, we're all volunteers, so we're not, well, we are doing it full time, but we have other jobs, let's put it that way. So it's a little difficult to keep our nose on that grindstone.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Carson? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
We have our third, and that is the downtown plaza. The situation's a little bit different from the other two, than where you are. So why do you need a extension?
All right, Kurt Young, Executive Director of the Topeka Lodging Association, and I will let the letter that we wrote kind of speak for itself, and I won't get into the financing aspect of it too much because you've already heard it from the first two entities, but we obviously suffer from the same dilemma of being able to take that agreement and leverage that into financing for a project. But I want to let you know that our group now that's involved in the development of working on this agreement, working on the plaza, is now up to 14 volunteer business people in this community that have been meeting regularly about every 2 to 2.5 to 3 weeks since we received this agreement, the draft agreement from the city attorney's office. We started out with no land, no building, and 10 potential sites. We developed a criteria for analysis, site analysis, as I promised you in all of the meetings where we were applying for this grant. And those 10 sites have been narrowed down to 2 potential sites. This project has a lot of moving parts, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it asks for an operation budget. In order to have an operation budget, you've got to know what you're going to have to operate. In order to know what you're going to have to operate, have to kind of know what the land's going to look like, the site's going to look like, so you know what you can build. So there's a tremendous amount of moving parts. We have not let any grass grow under our feet, and our next meeting is next week. We scheduled another meeting. We'll actually have 3 this month in April. We have, at this point, secured the funding to pay for the site analysis, to pay the architects for the site analysis. We will be very close to hopefully coming up with the $300,000 to support the operations, the annual operations of the plaza. That's a huge commitment. It's too premature for me to even discuss the specifics of that. We are in the process of determining the operation plan. We have an organization and a staff working on that. We will be setting up a conference call since I haven't found a volunteer to give me a jet yet to fly 6 or 8 of us to another location, we'll be setting up a conference call to speak with another city that has a plaza to get some more specifics on there so we can start putting the nuts and bolts together of what our plaza is going to look like. Once that's done, we can be more specific about the operation plan and its budget. But with respect to the time frame, the memo, the letter that we wrote asked for 90 to 120 days, and I think it would be advantageous to keep all 3 entities on the same timeline. So whatever you decide in terms of a time extension, we'll make it work. But we have not let any grass grow under our feet. And there's a lot of people, I told you in the letter that we wrote, the 14 people that are working on this. So you can see for yourself that there's a lot of people that have a vested interest in this. So.
Okay.
Short of that, I'll answer any questions.
Are there questions for Mr. Young? Councilman Shum.
Thank you, Mr. Young. This project received the lion's share, $3.4 million. It was also one of the newest ideas on the block. With that comes more scrutiny, just to be blunt. This was a vision. I remember that we were briefed as council members on this vision, and I remember being briefed that really we were looking at 2 to 3 sites. Back before we voted on this in October, was the understanding that there were really only 2 or 3 sites that would really work for this plaza. So to hear we were at 10 sites and now we're down to 2, that doesn't sound like a lot of movement. This is the one, I'll be honest, that my constituents ask me about. This is the one that the other organizations that have been around Topeka longer ask about. And so to be saying that we should lump you in with Constitution Hall and the Jayhawk Theater and be giving the same preference, I'm not ready to go that far, because we have a lot more skin on the game, on this one than we have with either of the other 2 applicants. And you're right, there are a lot of professionals backing this. You've got more manpower, from what I'm seeing, than the other 2 organizations. And so please realize that this brings intense scrutiny to all of us public officials that voted for it back in October. And what I'm doing is not trying to be overly critical. I'm just trying to address concerns and say where we're at, because 90 to 120 days on a project of this magnitude, because we heard the arguments when we looked at this, that others were in Topeka longer, that others were more deserving. And that $3.4+ million price tag is going to cause a lot of heartache for lots of us on the council as we consider it. And the good news is we're only discussing it this week, so I look forward to more discussions next week. But I can tell you, right now, of those 3, this is the one I'm going to get the most emails on. This is the one I'm going to get the most phone calls on. And we're going to have to come up with a reason to justify giving that extension. And to be honest with you, this organization's proposal will be the hardest one to come up with that answer for, an answer that's going to satisfy the people that I represent.
May I address the
I'm sorry,
side
would you
issue?
like to respond, Mr.
Yes. One of the first things that we did after receiving the agreement was to really look at any potential site. And I shared with you in the document that we gave you some of the criteria that we formulated in the very first meeting as to what should the criteria be for this land site. What that did was open up a whole scope of property to look at. And while going into it through the application process, we were pretty well, we were looking pretty firmly at maybe 2 or 3 sites, but we didn't want to get to the point of actually picking a site and then having somebody come back and say, well, why didn't you look at this site? We wanted to broaden our scope and look at every potential site that may be available under the lens of this criteria that we developed. So we had a legitimate reason for not going after a specific site.
If you could, as a follow-up, not to name specific sites, but are the two that you're at now the same sites that you were at back in October, or are they completely different?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
They're one's one of the same and one's new.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Jensen, do you have a question?
Thank you, Your Honor. Again, Councilman Chum, I appreciate your comments, but this is the project that's actually made the most progress out of all of them, because it does not have the advantage of having a lineage of history to draw from. This has literally gone from 0 to apparently 100 miles an hour very, very rapidly. So I wholeheartedly support your extension because I want this done right. You know, we get one chance to make this smashing success. Well, realistically, all the projects, we get one chance to make them a smashing success. And I absolutely want them to have the time within reason to get this stuff and get it done right. So I appreciate all the work you guys are doing. You know, timing is a factor. Our folks want this stuff done now, and I get that. But if they need more time to do it right and make it the smashing success our community needs, I think we should give it to them. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilwoman.
if I could
I'm sorry. Well, okay. But keep it short because we have a
very
long
short,
meeting.
One of the very first comments I made at the meeting, first meeting following receipt of the agreement, was we have one chance to do this. I've lived in this city for a long time, or in this area for a long time, and I'm tired of hearing, I wish they would have put it here. I wish they would have done it there. And I wanted to be able to cover all the bases and say that we looked at everything and not have any regrets about it.
Councilman Clear.
This is a question for someone. What happens if this doesn't get approved?
I think.
Anybody know?
Well, I don't.
Have to reallocate the money.
Yeah, you respond.
If it did not get approved, the money would go back into the TGD fund for further discussion.
Yeah, I would think it would be back before us, yeah. Councilwoman Ortiz?
Thank you. This question's for Mr. Jensen. What's timely to you?
Well, and that's a loaded question on any of these projects. What I would like to see is definitive progress moving forward. I mean, realistically, we'd love to have the plaza done within 5 years. We'd love to have a Jayhawk Theater within 3 or 4, and we'd love to have Constitution Hall on about the same schedule, I think. So,
But to continue to extend time after again, because you said, I mean, what in a timely? So what's define timely? What you're talking
for me,
about?
I would think 180 days at the absolute most. So if they had 2 more 90-day extensions and couldn't get it together, then that's when I think we should start to reevaluate whether or not these are good fit for those funds. I would look forward to a progress report at the end of 90 days with a definite plan to complete what's not done, if there is anything. Though, you know, if they've asked for 90 days, I would assume they would be dang near done by the end of that, unless something has come up that we can't foresee that would create a problem.
And I could appreciate that, not to put you on the spot or anything. As long as I've sat on this council, we've talked about Constitutional Hall, you know, and I'd like to see that completed. And that was a lot of my no votes, was that we're starting new projects and we haven't even finished the old projects. And they're all good projects, you know, so thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
And if I might, that was part of the logic of packaging these together, because the hope is that if we can get some of those projects working in downtown, it'll help the other projects get up and going, because then that creates sort of a district, and everything in a district could then work together and feed off each other.
Okay. Councilwoman Hiller.
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate going back to the work of the applications and the work of the Transient Guest Tax Committee. When we approved these projects for each of their various reasons, they were very important. You know, there's this historic preservation with Constitution Hall and the Jayhawk, downtown for all 3 of them, and you're right, at Councilman Jensen or whoever it was, there's a synergy amongst them as well. They are also big projects. And so I'm not, yes, they need to move along, but this money's going to come in over 12 years. And so what I hope, though, and if particularly the the plaza's needing to put it together from scratch, and so they indicated in their letter that they might need a little more time than that. I don't want to keep calling them back in and having this discussion again and again. If it were even 2 years, for me, that money will start to accumulate right away. The way we set this up was we needed all the information before we actually finalized the development agreement. It's the same information that the Great Overland Station provided before they got theirs, and that the Sunflower Soccer folks provided before they got theirs. That being, what is your development budget? What's your timeline? How are you going to leverage this money? What's your operating plan? And show us your design. And what's your time frame? How are you going to do it? They need that for their lenders as well as for us. Those will tie in together. I'm very much hoping that all of you will leverage. Part of the idea was that with this big money, you could leverage it to come up with more. I am okay if within that plan then, if you were contemplating, for instance, the two of you that are historic preservation, going after preservation grants, if your timeline says this is what we're going to go after and we're hoping to get this much, obviously you might not hit it the first time. So it might be that there would be a window in there that's saying between 2019 and 2021, we hope to get this level done, whether there's a fundraising campaign or grants or whatever it would be. But I do hope to see those elements in there. I don't want you to ask for too little time. What we figured out with this one is that if there were a need for a request for an extension, we need the last 30 days of whatever that window is to get it on the agenda and to talk about it. So with Constitution Hall, if you want a short deadline to get you going, and fine. If the Jayhawk needs a little bit longer, fine. If the Constitution Hall, that's all fine with me. I do want to keep it moving along. If there's something that the city can do to help further, I see the problem is getting that plan laid out. And I'm just eager to see you back. I'll certainly support the extensions, but I hope that between now and next week you think about what it is you need to do and exactly how much time you need so that we can customize them if need be.
Is there other questions? Councilman Schwartz.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to remind the body that the proposals that were put forth went to a committee of the experts in this area, and that's the committee and then the council voted on those. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that I've said, maybe in a couple of years or who knows how long, we'll have a plaza that has a spray park, we'll have ice skating in the wintertime. There's a lot of discussion on things that have been started in the past, but we have a new thing going on right now. We have these people talking to each other. They're working together in Topeka to make Topeka happen. Downtown Main Street did not happen overnight, and it's going to take some time to get it done. But the projects that we approved are going to happen, and they're going to really make Topeka on the map. So I just want to remind the body that it was the experts that decided which projects should be funded, and I believe that they were right, and we will see this to fruition, and it'll happen. And we'll not only have the park and Constitution Hall and Jayhawk Theater, but we're going to have an Asian garden too at the zoo.
All right.
Just saying.
Without transit guest tax. Okay. Any other questions, discussion on this item? Seeing none, we'll complete that. Thank you, gentlemen, for your participation. The next two discussion items have been pulled from the agenda, so that completes our non-action items. We'll proceed to, I'm sorry? Where? Oh, he spoke. He was, Glenn was signed for public comment, yeah. So we go to announcements then, if the clerk would review the agenda for next week.
For the agenda next week, we have 2 proclamations of the mayor, Drug Endangered Children Awareness Day and Fair Housing Month. We have a presentation on the E311 program and customer service review. For action items, we'll have a request for extension of time for Constitution Hall, Historic Jayhawk Theater, and Downtown Plaza. We have an expenditure ordinance, a labor agreement for Water ASME 2-year, 2016-2017. Our non-action items included discussion on special structures unit, transient guest tax development agreement for Evel Knievel Museum, the proposed 2017-2021 capital improvement plan, the interlocal agreement, and then also an update on the Woodbury Court drainage project.
All right. That's a full agenda. For the announcements then, Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I want to congratulate the finance team. GFOA provided the Distinguished Budget Award again, so this is kind of nice. It's becoming a habit for us, and this award really recognizes the highest quality and best practices in the budgeting process, which was one of the goals that we set as an organization to address the finance. On a much more sad note, one of our truly outstanding employees and leaders within the organization, Dwayne Overfield, who was the city's director of meter services, passed away at the end of last week, and his services are going to be held on Thursday at 11 o'clock at Fellowship Bible Church. I just know that there's been a lot of people in the organization that have been very much impacted by that, so certainly hold his family out for your thoughts and prayers.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Ortiz.
Oh, I'm first.
You're first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I'd like to say congratulations to Michelle. You have a tough job ahead of you on Deputy Mayor. I hope that you will be fair and equal, and remember that we all serve under you to a point. And I hope that the mayor stays well, so that you don't have to fill in as mayor anytime soon. Take your vitamins. But in all honesty, I hope that you will be fair, and I will have a personal one-on-one discussion with you. Having said all that, Chief Brown, would you come to? Did he leave? Where'd he go? He left.
He's no longer here.
I wanted to thank him for the police cadet manual. I've had discussions with Chief Miller and Chief Brown, and this brought joy to my heart. It brought tears to my heart that we discussed this in the same week that we discussed the Topeka way to work for our youth. We implemented two things. Sasha, are you there? Would you please stand? Sasha and her team has done an outstanding job. I don't think Monique's here, but they've done an outstanding job on putting this together, spearheading it, kicking it off. And the only problem is we didn't put enough money in the budget for these kids, and I will prove that this year. We're going to be able to employ 10 children. I believe it was 50,000. Is that correct, Mr. Gerber? Was that 50,000?
Yes, ma'am.
And we will have a 9-week program where they will be mentored, they will have jobs, and they will have uniforms. And I have put this information out, and I expect 500 applicants. So that just lets me know as well, that there's not enough jobs for our youth. And, I think that this can be a turning point. I'm asking individuals, we're going to try to talk to the private sectors to see if we can set up some type of fund to employ our young people. They're going to be mentored as well as working 30 hours, so we will take them off the street. And they will also be trained on how to take care of their self-wellness, educated on wellness, and also how to teach them how to eat properly. I love young people, and there's just not enough that we could do for them. All they're going to do is make their little money and pour it right back into the community. And so I will be asking for more money, but I will be giving you a lot of stats, because I think the days that we interview, which is the 18th, the 20th, and the 22nd, will be very tiring for myself and staff because there's such a big need out there. I had something else. Oh, I wanted to also mention that tomorrow, tomorrow from April the 6th to April the 11th, that volunteers can ride free on the Metro, and I think that's awesome. All you have to do is show your little badge or have a letter, and I think that that they're doing an outstanding job on recognizing different people. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Shum.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do want to congratulate the deputy mayor. I just got myself seated between the two most powerful people on the council, so I'm moving up in the world, I guess. I appreciate that extra scrutiny, but in all seriousness, congratulations, Michelle. Thank you, Karen. You've given Michelle huge shoes to fill. We really appreciate what you've done this past year, and you'd better get to filling those shoes, so go get them. Councilman Cohen, 8 votes back on Jado. We like you a lot. You did a great job last year. We can't thank you enough for that. I was able to attend the levee groundbreaking March 31st. It's a good thing for North Topeka. We're going to get it done. And it's good to be a part of that. We have the Anti-Crime Summit coming to East Topeka, but really, it's for all Topeka. Please come out to Highland Park High School, April 26th. It's a Tuesday night. Refreshments are served at 5:30. If we get enough young folks out, they won't be around. The refreshments, I should say, not the young folks. Hopefully the young folks will be around, but the refreshments won't be around long, so show up. Come do the workshops, come talk and with police officers here, come see what they're doing in the community. And you know what? Take it back to your part of town. I would love for Chief Brown to be trying to hold 4 of these next year across the community. And I think if there's enough demand for it, I think we could do that. So please do come out again, April 26th, 5:30 to 8:15. It's a Tuesday night. You don't have to watch a council meeting, so you might as well be there. Thanks.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Del Isla.
Thank you, Mayor Wolgass. First of all, I would like to say thank you to Councilwoman Hiller for her exemplary work during the past year. And I would like to make some remarks with regards to the powerful and being over anybody. We're a team, and we work as a team. And I have no auspices of power. It's about working as a team.
You're the deputy mayor.
Now that being said, I would also like to extend my appreciation to the police officers who last night had a really rough night. For those of you who are not aware, our city had several incidents last night. We had an AK-47 in the villas next to my house. Then there was another quick shop, and there were several incidents. And just tonight, as I was looking at my email, there were 2 other incidents that happened tonight. So whatever's going on, these things typically happen because of mental health situations or because of some extreme circumstances. There's help out in the community. Seek out those resources. As well, I would like to say thank you to our fire group that was battling a big fire yesterday on 10th Street. Pretty massive situation. Again, we have our public safety individuals just stepping up and keeping us safe. Our city would not be the same without you. And on a final note, I would just like to say that we had a blast at the CIP tour. We were riding the bus while our fellow council member was in Mexico, and we suffered for him greatly because he couldn't join us. He was missing out on the fun. We were able to go through all of our districts. We were able to have great conversation and just not only see the roads of our community, but also get a chance to be in our asset of public works and see the treatment plant and just have a better understanding as council members of what's happening in our community. So thank you for the team that put that together. It was phenomenal.
Thank you. Councilman Jensen.
Thank you, Your Honor. I want to start by thanking Karen Hiller for all of her hard work last year. As a brand new council person, it was great to have you as a resource that I could call and ask questions and really try to help get my wits about me and my feet under me and get going. And I really appreciate that. I want to congratulate Deputy Mayor De La Isla. Say that 5 times fast. I want to continue being your right-hand man. Okay, that's a joke, people. Oh, for gosh sakes.
We thought you were stepping up.
Well, I'm trying. On a personal note, I want to send a special thank you to my wife-to-be and some of my closest friends who apparently for months and months have been planning a surprise bachelor party for me. I had not a clue, but it was fantastic. And last but not least, my future niece-to-be, Addison Pinto, had her had her baptism in the Catholic Church on Sunday, and I want to send a congratulations to her. Have a great week, everyone.
Councilwoman Schwartz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, ditto, ditto, ditto. Thanks, Karen, and congratulations, Michelle. And I have no doubt that you'll do just as great a job as we've seen in the past year. So I also wanted to give you just a quick update on what's been going on with the zoo, because I have been in so many meetings with Brendan and Fawn, and we're not shaking now. When we meet, we hug, and I think that's a big step, that in any relationship, when you're working together on a project, that you get to feeling like you can air differences, you can talk about things. But we've been meeting today. We had the architects up, and we met with them, and you'll be hearing some more information about what's going on. But we will have an awesome project, and I wish I could disclose more, but I don't want to take away the things that are going to be coming out. We will have a dedication in July on Kay's birthday on July 20th, so we're aiming for that, and more information will follow. I also wanted to say that we have Coffee with a Cop this coming Friday at the community center with the community officers, and it will be Friday from 9 to 10:30 at 2209 Southwest 29th. And they will have, the public can come and meet community officers and members of the staff. They'll have coffee, anti-theft screws, magnets, coloring books, and other giveaways, and a surprise visit from a friendly mascot. So if you haven't been to the community officer location there on 29th Street, please get to that. And then my gem for Topeka is I worked the Tulip Time yesterday at Old Prairie Town, and it goes through the end of next week. So if you haven't gotten to Tulip Time, go to Old Prairie Town. The tulips are just gorgeous, and they're also gorgeous out at the lake and also at Gage Park and the zoo. So thank you.
And downtown.
And downtown. Yeah, there are tulips downtown. I don't know that they're having any volunteers work down there, but yeah, they're just beautiful all over town.
Beautiful. Thank you. Councilman Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've got a big hole in the ground out at 21st and Urish. It's our new community pool that's going out there. And then I'm also looking forward.
Oh my God, another bottle.
Actually, I've come to talk about that too. We have some major construction projects that are going to be popping up around our district, and that is 25th Street from Wanamaker to 470, and the big stretch of Wanamaker from 10th to 21st Street. The intersection at 21st and Wanamaker is also under there, and then there's also a little strip just south of 21st, right there where Toys R Us exits. That's like the highest traffic accident location in town. I believe they're going to put a median in there. And then 21st Street from Wanamaker to Arvonia, which is up the hill next to the mall. I'm looking forward to the calls of why do we have all these orange cones? Because we've been complaining about streets for so long. I'm looking forward to those. Also, I wanted to send out an invitation to you and our fellow Topekans. Franklin Graham is going to be here at the Capitol on April 28th, and it'll be one of the biggest rallies that you'll see at the Capitol, I'm sure. Thursday, April 28th from 12 to 1. And I encourage you guys to take your lunch if you can. I know it's probably a long drive for you, but I hope you guys can make it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Harmon.
Thank you, Your Honor. I want to join the chorus of commending Councilwoman Neela Issa for being elected deputy mayor, and council members Shum and Cohen for their elections to JDO. Look forward to working with all three of you, and want to thank Karen Hiller for her work for the past year as deputy mayor. I so appreciate, Karen, the passion and the work that you have put into the position. It has set a new standard, I think, for what we expect from our deputy mayor, and I want to thank you very much for the time and energy and commitment you made to that position. Thank you.
Councilwoman Hiller.
Thank you all so much for the kind words. It really was an honor and a pleasure to be deputy mayor the last year. It was a lot of work, I'm really proud of the elements that we added to, that had been overlooked for some time, that we've added into that mix. We got 2 reviews and processes set up. We began work on the transition to the new year. There's work that needs to be done on that. I was not seeking a reappointment, but was willing to serve as that bridge, in that bridge position. Certainly I will commit to helping to finish that policy work that needs to be done for our transition. And congratulations so much. You will do a great job, and you've got my 100% support in anything that I can do. I will be assured of that. And congrats also. We're opening lots of new doors with, consideration of the interlocal agreement and just what JADO is going to look like. And I do look forward to serving in whatever way that I can on any of those things. I too wanted to give kudos for the capital improvements bus tour. It was well done. You always learn, even if you think you've been around. I'm committed to getting out wherever, to the secondhand bookstore or wherever I can do it. Whenever I go to the water plant, all I can remember is the children's book of Miss Frizzle and her magic bus, and going through the waterworks. That was my favorite when we had it with the kids. And so, and the staff really did a great job of explaining what we were seeing, and the council members that were on board pitched in as well. It was great. I too have a crime summit coming up. Mine will be the District 1 one will be the first second year follow-up summit, and that is scheduled for Saturday the 16th. It's kind of summit light. We're going to do a little shorter than the first one. It'll be from 9:30 to noon, and the police department has offered to host that at the law enforcement center, so we'll migrate it over. And one of the things they're stepping up is to have the CPOs themselves moderate our input sessions, and so that'll be kind of fun. And last but not least, I wanted to do a personal mention of that. I think many of the things that we're doing to attract young professionals, top quality young professionals to our city is working. I learned maybe a week or so ago that Jason Peak, our new Public Works Director, is himself not only a bicyclist, but he and his wife both cycle and are competitive cyclists. And she cycled all the way through, was it last weekend? 2 weeks ago on a competition in Oklahoma called the Land Run 100, which is the wide-tired dirt bike mud sort of thing like they have at the Dirty Kanza in Emporia. So, and he biked to the neighborhood meeting that we had on Sunday night. So we've attracted a good one. Way to go, everybody, and thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Claire.
I wanted to tell you, over spring break when Up With People was here, I went to see them work with the kids at the Boys and Girls Club. And I got to speak with Ruben, who organized them coming to Topeka. And I asked him, I said, where have you been? And what's doing? I said, well, what's your favorite place you've ever been? He goes, Topeka just might be it. And I didn't go, really, why? No, I said, really, why do you say that? And he said, you guys have got so many neat places tucked away to visit. And I said, well, I'm going to spread that, because that's important. I thought I was really proud when he said that was, he's been all over the world. So that was exciting. I have a mention on Saturday the 9th. There is all-you-can-eat pancakes for $7 at Applebee's from 8 to 10, and it benefits the Sheepdog Impact Assistance. And we have the NOTO second planning meeting tomorrow night at 6:30 in NOTO at Serendipity at 820 North Kansas. And then we have the Part B public meeting on the Seward project Thursday from 8:30 to 8 at the Oakland Community Center.
Thank you. Thank you. I also want to offer my congratulations to the newly elected deputy mayor and the JADO members, and our thanks to Karen for her leadership working with you in the last year. I also want to acknowledge that the chamber has their annual State of the Community luncheon on next Monday. I know council members, you have the opportunity to attend. where there'll be a representative from the Shelley Bueller, Chair of the County Commission, will speak, and there's another speaker on behalf of the city to be determined or something.
Don't get sick.
That's the first time. Thank you.
You'll be sick on Monday?
Well, yeah. We will now go to public comment, and first person to speak is Reverend Joshua Longbottom.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Reverend Joshua James Longbottom. I'm senior pastor of Central Congregational Church at Huntoon and Buchanan. And I know that you all get paid very little for the amount of service that you do to this community, so I want to start just by saying that I appreciate and understand that every one of you, whether I agree or disagree with the decisions you make, I know that you're here out of a heart of public service and because you care for this city, and so I thank you for that. I'm also here on behalf of not only my congregation, but the Justice Unity Ministry Project of Topeka, which I'm sure you're familiar with, and represents 18 different churches in this community, and every year selects a new justice issue that they're gonna work on. We've uncovered in our research over the last 6 months that there are 7,000 people who are low income and in housing insecure situations where the amount of money out of their budget, their rent or their mortgage is over 50% of their income, which is a substantial population, 7,000 people in this city, and we're gravely concerned about it. I know when I first moved to Topeka 3 years ago, I thought there was plenty of housing and it was available, and I was glad that my rent was substantially cheaper when I found a nice place in Oakland. But I also spent a lot of time at the library and Let's Help and associating with a lot of people who live on the margins. And in my relationships with them, I have found that indeed it is a true situation that we have a lack of affordable housing. And so we're going to ask you this year to help us collaborate and develop a trust for affordable housing that we can use in the future to address this problem. And tonight there would be more people here, but they're doing a dress rehearsal for our rally on April 26th that we're inviting you to, and that's why there aren't more people present here. And I just want to make sure that you all hear the invitation and come April 26th at 7 o'clock to the downtown Ramada and find out what it is that we've researched and hopefully make the decision to help us out and address this issue in this town. Y'all have a good evening, and thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
Mr.
Yeah, Councilman Ortiz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Reverend Longbottom, my name is Sylvia Ortiz, and I have been sick for the last month, and I've been playing phone tag with different members of the Jump. On April the 26th, we have an East Topeka Crime Summit, myself and Jonathan. So we won't be there. So I hope the next time one of your members comes up and reads who wasn't there, that they understand why we weren't there. We just can't be at everything.
I understand.
But we do appreciate the stance that you're taking, and we do support you.
Excellent. I will relay that information.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for the comments. Thank you for your comments.
You have a good night.
Next is Joseph Ledbetter, but I believe he left this evening. Next is Clark Trammell.
Again, thank you. It's been a long evening, but I think it's important. I've been thinking through this, listening to the dialogue, the last several topics, and I feel it's important to get this on your agenda, and I hope you all will. It's one word. It's called transportation. And Karen and I have had some very detailed talks, but you talked about everything about our community that's going on, a lot of excitement, a lot of very dynamic things. But if people can't get there, health, can't get to the programs, can't go downtown to dance in the new projects, then the level of success we'll have with our projects in this community will be lower than where it should be. And there shouldn't be a limit at what its growth can be. I would hope that you all would put the subject of transportation on your agenda for discussion and create a dialogue with Go Topeka, the Chamber, this group, JDOE, certain community citizens, and address what the needs are and what the resolutions are. There are 4 cornerstones that create the image and success of a community. The quality of medical care, we talked about that this evening. Quality of education. We alluded to that this evening. The quality of life and the cost of living, we addressed that a little bit. And transportation. The better transportation is, the more success you have with the other three cornerstones. Without transportation, they hit a very low ceiling. Tax collections are lower, success is lower, job creation's lower. It affects everything. We have a problem in this community. I'll just tell you straight out. There is a problem. There are a lot of people working hard, but we're not getting anywhere. 2 steps forward and 3 steps backward. So please put that on your agenda someplace to start the dialogue, so all these projects you heard about this evening, the other ones that haven't been talked about that are out there, have a real chance not only for success, but the attraction of people, seniors, medical, health care, education. People need to get around. We don't just live at home. Dillon's was a perfect example. There was an article about that. We have needs that people need to have filled. Transportation is the backbone to that. So please consider that, and I thank you all. It's been a great meeting. Good evening.
Thank you for your comments. Councilman Ortiz.
Mr. Trimble?
Mr. Carmen, yeah, I have a question.
I would just like to comment that there are discussions had about transportation. I've personally talked to Susan Duffy, and I know some people at Go to Topeka have also talked about that, how to get to jobs. So I know that they're working, and discussions have been had, I know, for the last 3 months, if not longer.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for your input.
Thank you. That completes the public comments for tonight. I'll go to the executive session. First session, if the city attorney would state the parameters for that, please.
The motion would be that the governing body recess into executive session for a period of 10 minutes to discuss employer-employee negotiations for the purpose of understanding the status and conduct of negotiations. In order to aid the discussion, the following individuals should be present: City Manager Jim Colson, Deputy City Manager Doug Gerber, Human Resources Director Jackie Russell, Finance Director Brandon Kaufman, Budget and Performance Manager Nikki Lee, Water Manager Bob Sample, Senior Assistant City Attorney Catherine Walter, and myself.
In addition to the elected officials.
Yeah, I said that at the beginning.
Is there a motion to?
I learned my lesson.
Councilmember Hiller?
I would so move. I hope we can have a break before we convene.
We will.
Thank you.
Cohen seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no.
10 yes.
10 having voted yes, we're going to executive session. The room is clear. Let's take a 10-minute break.
I have to get that.